Los Angeles has one of the highest rates of homelessness in the country. Thousands of people are living on the streets and shelters and in their cars. Meanwhile, there are 20 to 30 billionaires that live in our city. The vast number of inequality has also led to police violence and enforcement of attacks on homeless people, poor people, and working class people. The threat of homelessness is real in Los Angeles, in Inglewood, and in other working class communities around the country. Inglewood is a city located in Los Angeles County, California. 63% of the people that live in Inglewood are renters. Majority of the people that live in Inglewood are low income, Black and brown people. But recently, a stadium is being built. It's being run, and the NFL teams, the Rams and the Chargers, as well as another stadium being built in Inglewood for the Clippers NBA team, are threatening the livelihood of renters in Inglewood being able to stay in their homes. Currently, there is no rent control in Inglewood, and the consequence is a landlord can send and has sent notices of upwards of $1,500, the 60-day notice, meaning landlords can raise their rent to whatever they like as long as they give 60 days notice. The extreme measure of the rent increase to $1,500 in 60 days caught media attention nationwide, and Mayor Butts, former police chief of the city of Santa Monica, stated that he thought this was exorbitant and has stated that he supports renters and not having such exorbitant fees. Mayor Butts not only receives money from being the mayor of Inglewood, but he also receives a $200,000 a year pension from the city of Santa Monica, where he was the police chief. The city council and mayor have no issues with rent control because they aren't in a position for that because they have money. The rest of us who are living paycheck to paycheck, we need to fight for our lives and literally fight against homelessness. So it's important that we understand that this fight in Inglewood represents the fight for affordable housing all over the country. And if we are able to win this fight, as we have been able to win other fights, such as kicking Walmart out from Inglewood, then we can also set an example for other communities, low income, people of color communities, working class communities, that we can also win this fight for rent control.
No! Are we leaving?
No!
Where do we live?
Inglewood!
Where do we live?
Inglewood!
Are we leaving?
No!
Are we leaving?
No!
What do we want?
Recently, there was a 45-day moratorium on evictions and rent increases, meaning rent can only be increased by 5% per month. The city council voted to have an extension for another 60 days. But this doesn't stop the fight for rent control. People shouldn't have to worry about having a home or paying for their medication. In places like Inglewood, rent control would mean a great deal for people who are on fixed incomes. That is, elderly people receiving Social Security and people with disabilities. They raise our rent $100, $200, $500, even $1,000. Are any of us getting that increase in income a month? No. So when our rent is increased, when tenants' rents are increased, that means they can afford less food, less medications, less clothing, less utilities. It eats into the salaries that aren't going up, and it's an attack on the working class. The developers that are continuing to develop and gentrify Inglewood as the rest of the tenants watch must be stopped. Many tenants, like my family, have lived in Inglewood since the 90s, and we're only now seeing roads being fixed, stop signs being fixed, other changes being made, and we know what that means. Those changes are being made for the tenants that are supposed to move to Inglewood, not for the people that have lived in Inglewood. Those changes are made for the people that are supposed to be going to the stadium, not for the people who live in Inglewood who may not be able to even afford a ticket to go. So the struggle for rent control is a struggle for housing, and housing needs to be affordable, not just building more affordable housing units where many people are on wait lists and have to wait 5-10 years to be able to move in. The housing that exists now needs to be made affordable, and that means fighting the landlords and major developers that are gouging tenants and forcing them out of their homes. Organizations such as Uplift Inglewood Coalition, the DSA Los Angeles, and Left Voice, as well as community members and longtime residents of Inglewood, such as myself, have been part of this struggle to fight for our homes and fight for affordable housing for all working class and oppressed people.